Well, the computer says 7 o'clock, right? So I guess we're ready to go. Okay, I call the meeting to order. Welcome this evening. We have 3 people on Zoom, correct? So that, in addition to the people that are here in the room. So
Melanie would be the only one who's a member of the committee and voting.
Okay, very good. Well, let's
I'm here.
stand for pledge. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Okay, I believe we've all received the minutes from the May 20th meeting. They were sent out with the electronic, with the email. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a pre-recorded thing, isn't there?
Yeah, we just need to play that.
Sorry about that. I'm a fill-in.
Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, so why don't we just go around the room and identify who we are and that we're here present.
Paul Fisher, Vice President, Bergenham.
Steve Gribble, Chief, Bronx Fire Company.
Kirk Bergstrom, citizen, Lafayette Fire Company.
Claire Graham, citizen, East Lampeter Township.
Ralph Hutchison, Township Manager.
Okay, and let's go to the Zoom, folks.
Melanie McHenry, citizen for Bronx.
Don, I think we lost you. Susie, can you just indicate that you're,
Yes, I'm here. Susie
Okay.
Sutton, community member.
very good. Okay, now we go to the meeting minutes. Meeting minutes were sent out electronically with the notice of this meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions, changes to the meeting minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion for acceptance?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Second,
I'll second it.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes pass.
Don't, just reminder that we should hear from Melanie
Oh,
when you vote.
Melanie,
Aye.
thank you. Let's go into old business. Report from the fire apparatus replacement committees. Lafayette. Any questions? Hand in hand, engine 41-1.
Yeah, there's been no change there at this point. We don't have a committee set up at this point, but 2023 still looks like a pretty reasonable date for us, so.
Any questions? Okay, emergency operations plan. Jeff and Ralph, I guess. Start with Jeff. Okay.
Very little. Staff was just going through the document one last time to make sure there weren't any final changes that needed to be made. So we're close, and hopefully we'll have that done.
Any questions? New business. Fire chief's meeting, notes from the chief's meeting. Who would like to discuss that? Oh, okay.
Four times the fire chief met, we had the outline, the hour discussion was 3 hours discussion. A couple points there were fire service looked like in the next 5 years. We talked about apparatus funding. I'm going to read this word for word, but pretty much discussion started with third hand. Not ready. The ladder truck in 2026. So the ladder truck was $32 million. That's $900,000. That's the fire company. And volunteers, I think that we take a hard look at that. For planning, ladder truck probably next year. For delivery 2026, we have had delivery by 2025 for the 1 year build time. For planning next year, 2022. I think it's 3 years to put something together. And right now we are floating ideas around what we want the next ladder truck to look like. There's a lot of discussion around purposing and use, refurbing, trying to save money. I'm not convinced that's the way to go. There's a comment on a gas services member, fire company, and get. So that means you have to buy you, so you have to refurbish. We're in trouble right now. We spent $16,000 on the generator. And the transfer case, yeah. Now we get vibration out of the generator and we're looking at replacing the shaft. Local service center suggested that if they want to pull the generator out and then have it rebuilt, that's probably about $16,000. We're going to have to get talk about then we're going to get the part and we're going to see if we can do that. We have to start the pool and with the part and repair it. But as equipment needs, refurbishing it or sticking it around or buying used stuff, piece of apparatus to save money. How long is that? We talked about dancing for 100% apparatus funding. Now to take the burden off the volunteers. We're also looking at the review of apparatus because of the schedule that year. There are some companies that felt that not all apparatus is part of other apparatus.
Does it make sense to refurb those pieces of apparatus? So when you do refurb a piece of apparatus, what's the life expectancy? So if you have a 20-year-old piece and you want to refurb it, we're going to get another 10 years out of it, and we're going to save some money. But then after that 10 years, we're going to probably want to buy a new one. So does it make sense to everyone? Does it make sense for one company to do that and not another? Tried to lay it out as simple as I could in the chief's meeting notes, but we had quite a bit of discussion on that. The other part was staffing. What does the same three, the township, the emergency services, and what does the fire company, what are we doing as far as staffing goes? I mean, we're out there all the time advertising that we need volunteers at a fire company level, yard signs, billboards, and out in the community. But you know, in today's day and age, I think that things have changed, in my opinion. You can't get people to go to work right now for $12 to $15 an hour, but we're asking people to volunteer. And we're still asking people to volunteer, and we're not having a lot of success. So we make reference to the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I know that there's a lot of new faces and a lot of faces that have changed in this committee, and these new faces are not aware of some of the previous discussions that we've had. So I ask you that if you're not familiar with the quote butcher, baker, candlestick maker, that you Google that and read that document. What does coverage look like? I mean, in today's age, I'm hearing people want to volunteer, and we're pecking at our people basically, and we're hearing that they want to volunteer on their own time. I'm going away. I have to get up for work in the morning, so I'm not coming to nighttime calls. Daytime, we're super thin on staffing, and there's not a lot of us available in the daytime. So we pulled some of our resources together to try and cover that. But that's just a short-term Band-Aid. Some of us don't run as many calls as others, and some have better staffing than others, but we still need to be out there to provide what I call core service to the community. When people pick up the phone and dial 911, they want somebody there. Right now, we're there within the current NFPA guideline time frame, but that's exactly what that is. That is a guideline. There are other companies in this area, and in the county, I should say, that are taking different approaches. And I don't want to see East Lampeter Fire be left behind. We have companies out there that have hired coordinators, have hired fire marshals, or part-time paid staff. Combination departments are advancing. We talk about strength, weaknesses, threats. I know that in the Lancaster City strategic plan, that there is a movement to reach out to the surrounding municipalities with the possibility of providing fire service. You know, as far as Lafayette goes, since we are not a staffed station, we are not on any first alarms for those paid departments. They feel that they want people there quickly, and we're not fast enough. Even though we meet the NFPA time, we are not fast enough with our response. So for those areas, we're normally on second alarm, with the hope that we might hear the first alarm go out and maybe head to the station. So we are at the point where we need to figure out what the fire service in East Lampeter Township is going to look at in the next 5 years. Some may want no change, and others feel that there needs to be some change. So this is a big problem, in my opinion, that the Emergency Services Committee needs to tackle. And we have not discussed this since we've had a changing of the guard, and we need to.
I was not on the committee. I was attending as a guest a lot of times, but I'm familiar with the process, yeah.
2015. We started discussion in 2013, finished up at the end of 2013 or 15.
So, doing it, work. Take that off. Analysis. Projection. What it would take to have full service ships for God's
When we did that in 2015, the result was the ESC had committed to move forward with an all volunteer for four companies and all volunteer. And it was beneficial. It was a good deal of investment of all of our time put into that to build the relationships, to understand where we were coming from. There was some tough conversations. There were some tough evenings where we were here in this room and we would wrestle with those issues. But 6 years is a long time to go. Every 5 years, 2 to 5 years for a strategic plan is really the best way to proceed. So Dave, I'm hearing the fire chiefs, I guess, Dave, say it's time for the ESC to have this conversation again. Is that correct?
In some form, yes. Whether that means that we break out into groups and tackle this individually and come back with recommendations, or if we do it as a whole. But we need to keep up with the times because the times have changed. Believe me, I am all in favor of the volunteer model, but I see that as starting to not work. So I'm not saying it's going to stop working tomorrow or two months from now, but over the next 5 years, we need to think about how we want to address fire protection in East Lamphere.
At that time, Dave, if I recall, Lafayette still had a pretty sizable debt on the building. I don't recall what it was. But we were looking at some of these capital expenditures and layering on top of that the personnel staffing issues. And I think in your bullet points here, Dave, I see both of those issues still there. Perhaps we're moving from the building expenses at Lafayette, but we're moving towards the potential of a sizable investment in a ladder truck. And staffing is still there. Staffing is still a bullet point. I'm in favor of having the conversation, Dave, and whatever way that the ESC would want to do it. I think it's best to do strategic evaluation and strategic planning long before crises hit, because when you're in the midst of a crisis, then it's pretty tough to have level heads think through and invest the appropriate time. It becomes a crisis of response as opposed to preparation. I know in 2014, 2013, I guess 2013, when Matt put that together, I think we were projected to, if we were to have 3 shifts and each shift have 4 individuals staffed, I think Matt was projecting about $1 million a year. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, at least I think it was more than that.
Okay. And I could probably go find the report that he produced. You might have it too, Dave. But it was considered to be at that point, the 4 volunteer companies were still considered to be a real bargain for taxpayers. And then subsequently through the strategic planning process, we decided that the ESC needed to go to the board and ask for a greater contribution on a number of things, and the board, has done that. So anything that we would take on, and I think, once again, Dave, I'd say I support the conversation sooner than later, but I would want staff to put together a full financial analysis that really helps us to take what we're spending. In other words, take the four companies, take the combined P&L we've been doing for the past number of years, and let's lay that down beside what would a projection be if we were to have to go to perhaps 2 to 3 options, what that would look like, and begin with the numbers out in front of us. It says these aren't definitive numbers, but these are hypotheticals of what these options would look like, and could be 4 that are hybrids. It could be a couple that are combined and they go to hybrids, or it could go to a couple that are combined and they go to full staffing. We've got some volunteers. I mean, you can see how it play out, but I think by the minutes, Dave, I'm assuming all the chiefs were there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I didn't get to read the bullet points deeply, Dave, but you summarized them well. I think if the chiefs are saying it's time for a conversation, no one is saying, hey, it's time for a plan. That's not what we're saying. But if the chiefs are saying we're coming to the ESC to ask for a conversation, then I think we need to have a commitment there to make that happen.
I guess, when I think about the time and what has been invested in just time investment alone in studying the Lincoln Highway East plan, the corridor, and now the Bridgeport plan, I think that we need to give that level of dedication to the fire service also, whether that means a third-party outfit, whether we try and tackle it ourselves as we did before, what that really looks like. But, I think that we need to give that level of dedication to try and solve the issues at hand, which is staffing. And I know we don't all share the same problem. I think some of the things Lafayette is advancing on. We had a heavy discussion after the chiefs meeting and our last board of directors meeting. And we're definitely going to be looking at a live-in program at the fire station. For years, we were against having live-ins, but times have changed, like I mentioned before. So we're going to be heavily looking at that. We're going to heavily look at how do we reward our people who are contributing, because when we talked about a pay-per-call type scale, but there's some IRS ramifications to that. $600 seems to be the threshold, but there are other ways that we can reward our people monetarily for committing. We're working on developing a calendar. Right now we use I Am Responding, where people can sign up with their availability, but we're working on a calendar where people can sign up and say, I'm going to dedicate my evening and night to running fire club. The thing will be is, do we have enough people to have that coverage?
Couple of thoughts.
Yeah,
if I could
other-
there. Just reading over, I guess a couple of things that come to my mind. One is, I agree it's time we have the discussion, because it's obvious that there's, things change and there's a lot of moving parts here. Very complicated problem to solve at this level, at the township level, with the amount of people, fire companies that are involved. I guess one of the concerns I have, or one of the questions I have is there a way that we can get more people from within our departments involved in tackling these specific problems as we get to them? For example, I think the 3 things that were talked about here, the human resources, recruitment, retention, the finances part of it, and then the third one, which slips my mind here, finances, recruitment, those are the 2 big ones, the money and the people. I know in our department anyway, our chief's not even really responsible for those areas. So I know for us, we would like to have people in the room as these discussions progress that are, again, our HR people and or our financial people as we're talking about those. I think it'd be a lot more productive for us anyway. And if we have those counterparts, I don't know if we do or not in the other companies, because I know each company runs differently, but we would like to have those, the best minds that we have in the companies. And again, I don't know how that works, if that means it's done in this form or whether there's subcommittees or how that works. I guess that would be one thought I would have is let's try to make sure that we have, the best people that each company can bring to the table, not necessarily just the chief, not to criticize the chief, but again, in our department, they're more responsible for running the fire call part of it, the call response, that type of thing. And we try to relieve them of the burden of some of these other things that are, or entirely other jobs. The other one is, and again, I'm just going to be frank and throw it out there, is I'm very concerned that we have a good discussion about it, that we can all be open and share our concern. I know the last time around we had some issues there was some butting of heads, and I felt like sometimes unnecessarily, some of it coming from us, certainly, maybe some of it coming from other people, I don't know, but I agree this is a serious problem that, we acknowledge that, but I think we definitely have a concern that whatever we do to fix the problems where there are problems, I guess we're asking is, can we do that in a way that it doesn't damage the parts of the program that are working well? And we have a real concern, our board has a real concern about, for each problem that we solve, that we're not creating a burden or a problem somewhere else. And so I just would like to have, again, I just think it's very important that we, right from the start of it, that we're able to express ourselves freely and that we're able to, I hope, do this in a constructive way, that we can preserve what is working without being, reactionary and not wanting to change anything, so to speak. Because I think we, certainly from our perspective, we know changes are going to happen one way or the other, whether we do them proactively or whether they are, reactively. And so I think it's pretty safe to say that our board would feel pretty strongly about those two things, that we can get the right people in the room from each company and or the township, citizen large or whatever, and that we're careful that we, again, preserve what's working while we're trying to build on and, and improve what is working. So that would be my thought.
Other thoughts from other chiefs?
What it is, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I've been on this thing since we've started this emergency services. And a concern we had when the chiefs met was we have people from this, and this is no shot, but it's a wake up call, maybe I'll call it, that we have people that want to serve on the, or have agreed to serve on this committee, but they're not here at meetings. Now, sometimes, the people have commitments and we understand all that. Our thing, we talk about our fundraisers and things like that, but that's secondary. It's the operations is where we need the people here for. And we put business people on or citizens that we hope bring something to the table. And we want them to be able to ask and we can explain. We have new people, which is good, but it's nice to get them all in a room at one time and, okay, let's have a good, frank discussion, like Paul said. And are we all going to agree? If we all agreed, then we wouldn't have you wouldn't have a problem because there would be no problems. I think everyone's got to bring something to the table here and be quite frank with it. Our areas are different. I mean, totally. And we've discussed this different times that the people that live along Route 30 are quite different than the people that live over where there's developments along, compared to 340. Big difference in clientele, I'll put it. It's some areas have grown a lot more. Ours, where we're at down there, it's what it is for the last, I don't know how many years, probably 12 years, that because of the township wanting to keep it green. And we understand that, but we're limited. And we have more transient people in and out now than we ever had. So to get help out of them, it's tough. We have a recruitment retention committee, and they've gone out and talked to people. We found the best way to get some of our people is, and we go out to the Amish schools and we talk to them, and they come out for fire prevention, and it gets them started. Then one talks to another and one talks to another, but that goes on cycles. I mean, we've seen it that in a year, you can get next to nobody as far as new members coming in that are going to stay. I mean, they come in, it's like, well, this is a lot more than what I ever thought was going to be. And, the other month I had 3 new ones come in, and they've been there all the time, and they've been very active and they want to learn. But it still takes 2 years to get them on board with the training. And we have a plan that we've made out for in our company that I believe we gave them a 3-year window to 4-year window to get all the training in, because we didn't want to scare them away the first year or 2 that they're in. Our businesses that support us money wise, we have some that do really well. And we have some that are barely surviving right down there right now. And the township knows which ones they are, because, we're hoping that we have a shopping mall down there, or a shopping center will turn into something for us. But right now, we can't get help there because they're hurting. And this is, this is the way things are right now. I mean, some of our businesses, I'm surprised they are still in business after this last year and a half. And we have other ones that have really supported us. So, we're happy for what we get, because put it this way, if we have $10 more than we had when we started, that's at least $10 we've got. But that doesn't go too far anymore when you look at what things cost you. Absolutely, the township has kicked in, and insurance for us, our fuel for us. That's greatly appreciated, because that's one less expense per month that we have to come up with. But it's still tough. Our fund drives, I'm only going to speak for us, but we're still looking at around 30 to 33% return. Some of them, I'm not even sure why we send them out, but we send out to everybody. But you have 4 apartments in one house that we have, and we're happy just to get the property owner to send something in. We know we're not going to get anything from the 4 people that rent, because they're not going to, they pay their rent. It's like a lot of people say, I pay my taxes and we want you guys to show up. And, it's tough that way. The big thing that and I'll get to this in my report a little bit, but I mean, since we've got the discussion going, is we went from 4 major pieces of apparatus down to 2. We've combined some things. Less, I want to say we do more with less. We just added some more rescue tools on our engine, and we are trying to set ourselves up for success and not failure. So if we get something out daytime, and I'll be honest with you, that's when the calls come in. It's mostly daytime for us anymore. We want to succeed with what we've got, and we've set ourselves up for that. The other thing that is a big concern here, and we've touched on it a little bit in the minutes that Dave sent out, is, and he said, when do you refurb? When do you buy new? We've got an engine that's a 2008, and it's got 8,000 miles on it. Okay? Not even broken in. So we have discussed of spending maybe $250,000 to refurb it We know what condition it's in. We know where it came from. It's ours. And we know that it was taken care of. So, I mean, there's always upgrades you'd want to do, but, you know, a thing that we've discussed is, okay, where would this emergency service committee and the township come up with, hey, you know, since you're going to refurb and not spend, you know, the prices of apparatus lately, what, 650
For an engine.
for an engine? You know, if we do it and for 1/3 of that, instead of us paying 40% and the township paying 60, would they pay all of it? Because we're saving money for everybody. But yes, we'd have to be happy down the road that, you know, will that suffice for us? But, and again, you know, we're not talking till 2028 for our engine, but, you know, that's a long time away when you think about it. You know, what are we going to have for manpower? What are you going to, you know, what's going to happen? So to go out and spend a lot more money, we wouldn't get a whole lot of something that is different than our engine that we have now. That and you know, again, you set yourself up to succeed, not to fail with apparatus and how you what equipment you put on it. Because right now, a big thing we've got is our help. The firemen are there. I'm going to say the firefighters are there. Our executive board, are all our people are active. We're just a small little community down there. And, you know, everybody used to be in the fire company. Now there's so many opportunities that, you know, people are going here, they're going there. They've got, you know, maybe 2 jobs. It's totally different. Doesn't help anything. You know, we're not crying wolf yet, you know, that, oh my gosh, we can't do this. But, you know, it is a concern. But it's the biggest concern you have that we have is we do not have the people to help to do our fundraisers anymore because they are now either have died in the last year, and you laugh at this, or they're in their high, you know, 80 years old, and they can't do what they used to do. It's challenging. Believe me, it's challenging. And when we've gone out and talked to people, but, you know, oh yeah, we want to help you. But when it comes time to doing the help, it's sometimes they kind of disappear on you. But again, you know, you get from the people that rent in our area, the people that live along 30. It's educational when you go out on a call out there with some of these people because it's quite unique anymore. But, you know, this is, you know, we've discussed this for years and years and years, and we've made improvements. Don't get me wrong. We've made strides on all this stuff, but it's time now that we have some good, frank discussion. And, you know, we have to be better listeners, probably, maybe better explainers, that we all understand each other a lot more. But, you know, we need this group to be everyone to be here when we have these discussions, if we can, and you know, ask the tough questions of the fire companies, because, you know, you might get 4 different answers because of, you know, what we have and where we're at. But if it means breaking down and bringing extra people in, we did this a few years ago. We've discussed funding and had, I know we had a couple groups set up and they talked and we learned some stuff from each other, but this is changing constantly. But, you know, I really, you know, when you look at these minutes over the last year, and don't take this wrong, guys, I don't care about the ox roast. I don't care about the barbecues. I'm concerned about what it's going to take to keep this group, these fire companies, moving and going ahead and doing the best we can to provide a service. And I'm going to follow, I'm going to finish it up by saying, just because we are volunteer, that's what we do is free. Unfortunately, the apparatus isn't free. To keep the buildings up isn't free. But we can't help where we're all located. We're heavier down, I'm going to say, from the east end compared to the west end. But it's, money doesn't make all the problems go away. It helps a little bit, but then it also creates other problems down the road because, we've talked at our station that, hey guys, if we ever out a paid crew, I'm going to say 7 to 5 at night in this township, what do you guys think? And it's like, well, yeah, that's great to handle all the, I'm going to call nuisance calls, the automatic fire alarms, the this and that, they'd like to stay at work, but yet, I've had 11 calls this week. All but one was daytime. And we've done well with people getting them out. I mean, it was a good week. Tomorrow, guys take a long weekend, they go away. Well, you don't know what you're going to get. But, when for us, going out 3-4 times a day is a lot for us. But, they're showing up, but we want to get them back to work, and we don't want to be out for these things, the spill controls. And when you have a tow truck coming, they can handle these spills and stuff like that. Don't tie the fire company up in that kind of stuff. Call us, I'm going to call us, say, for the real deal stuff. Unless you're looking for calls and numbers, that's great. But I can take a pickup truck out and throw it back a wheel drive down just as quick. So, but we just need good, frank discussion. But we need this group to kick in and if we do have some members that are interested, get them involved in this thing.
Anything to add? Comment on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here. I mean, pretty much everything that's been said is pretty much where I think we're at. I know, like for us with Whitmer, we had discussion as far as with the apparatus, to where the township pays for everything. Standard engine all the way across isn't going to be suitable for Lafayette to Bronx, just like with us. We talked about, we got issues with our tanker. That's supposed to be pushed out to be brought up in 2024. It's not going to make it. We're going to have to get around and do something with it now. We're just starting to get in the process with it. So it's some things here, like we were talking, we're helping to save some money. Initially that was brought up. I was supposed to have been replaced 7 years ago. We pushed it out 5 years. We're going to go another 5. Maybe we need stuff. So it's definitely some concerns that we have. Some things that we definitely got to try to figure out. Because there's times that we're in the same boat. We may get 4, maybe 6 guys. That's it. Depending on the time of the day. Hopefully we can come up with some good solutions and try to move forward.
Good long discussion. Good emotion. I mean, it's what's real, where the rubber meets the road. We'll be talking about apparatus down here actually next. So we've already talked a little bit about apparatus. Do you want to go into any more detail on the schedule that we have?
It was touched on briefly at your last meeting, and that's why I had it on the agenda. I believe the committee asked for it to be on the agenda this evening. So circulated out the most recent version of the replacement schedule. I did update some of the numbers based upon the most recent purchase activity. But that's both what's happened from the beginning as well as what's scheduled for the future.
I guess one of the things that we heard tonight was that maybe some of this is not timely or accurate in terms of, you were talking about your tanker not making it to the replacement. I mean, is there a need to qualify some of this information as to, you know, current state?
Certainly, if there's updates from the fire company that need to be incorporated into what's reflected on the schedule, we can update.
Maybe another column out here that would say current state or current status. That's where you could talk about the tanker and saying, hey, this thing's not going to make it to that date.
I mean, we ended up having that's what we found this issue. If we would have found that issue,
Mhm.
that fits the same thing.
Right.
But many different things right now, some things we are fixing now, but we want to kind of present it. But our first move is still have a bit of rule. I don't feel. I think right now. The bond is still good.
So maybe on this report, there's just like a comment section and the fire companies can get back with comments pertaining to each of these items. So if it's your item, get back with a comment about it so that everybody knows, hey, here's our current situation. That way it may influence some different thinking. Anything more on the apparatus replacement schedule? Anything that needs to, I don't want to shortchange it, but we already talked about a lot of it. Going once?
Excuse me,
Yes.
does anyone mind if I put that on an Excel spreadsheet? Anytime anyone wants an Excel spreadsheet, I'd be happy to do it. It's just that spreadsheet or what we have now is in Word. And I had started working on the Excel spreadsheet just because my mind sort of goes crazy when you try to put something that should be in Excel in Word.
That would be good. And then also add columns to it so that if you need that information.
All right, I started it the other day. I'll
Thank
get
you,
it the
Mom.
hutch.
Thank you.
I guess the question we have, and I'm not going to speak for Greg here, but okay. How does this committee feel that if they would go, I mean, right now you can see where their tanker was originally planned for 2024 and the cost of it. Okay, what if they come in here and say, okay, and I'm throwing numbers, okay, so put $150,000, we'll fix this thing. We'll be happy and be able to run this thing for another, how long? Because by then, Lord knows what we're going to be facing, what the challenges are going to be in this township. But where does that fall with the town, with this committee, and the township be happy that, hey, look, we're only going to have to put this much money out compared to this much money. Would they pay for a refurb? I hate to say hold the carrot in front of me, but it's about what it amounts to. But like I said, I'm out in 2028. It's on the back page over here. But when you look at a new engine, what you're looking for there versus, a few changes and change it. Most of the time, it's improving your lighting, the electrical part of it, because unfortunately, the computers and all that kind of stuff can give you fits on this stuff. But we, when we built our engine, we did a lot of stainless steel on it, not just aluminum, because of hoping that we could get extra years out of it, because, we were looking down the road then. But
I guess that-
the problem you got is we sell this, if we would end up selling our piece in 2028 and get a new one, what we would get for it is peanuts for what the thing is, what it's actually worth, and what we know how well it's taken care of, and how it's not beat into the ground. Somebody would scarf that thing up real quick and run it probably for another 20 years and be happy as a lark. This is some of the stuff that we've asked, sometimes it's, you hate to bring up money, but it all comes down to money when it comes time to doing this kind of stuff. But, this is where we need the input, not from the chiefs anymore. We need it from citizens area, what the supervisors might think. That's why we've been trying to toss this out there to.
It sounds like maybe the apparatus replacement schedule, that we ought to build more flexibility into it. And maybe it sounds almost like an incentive issue too, where I think I'm hearing is that maybe a refurb, why am I getting penalized for doing something that's actually saving the township money just because it doesn't fit the specific, 60, I think the example was if I bought a piece of equipment or apparatus for 600,000, somebody else is buying it for 900,000. Why am I not getting some of the benefits? So I definitely think that would be a good approach when we look at it again, is to say, hey, how can we make it more flexible? Or if somebody needs to move up a couple of years or back a couple of years again, how do we incentivize that to make it, to make it that we don't get so caught up in the schedule, so to speak, but look more at the spirit of it, which is really to provide, the funding that's needed to take care of each piece, and not be a restriction as much as something that's creative and meshes well with each of the purchases.
I'm the last person you want to ask about how to run a fire company, but it seems to me, just from knowing other things that I've worked with, that this is not a very organic or not a very flexible schedule. That information's coming in, but it's not being communicated. It's not a schedule that's communicating current state and current conditions and needs. And it almost has to, on an annual basis, be updated.
Correct. Yeah. I would say, Eric, yes, I believe that you're correct, and we do try to look at it on a very regular basis, so trying to modify. But I think, go back to the chief's larger question, and that is, can this committee commit to a very strategic analysis of the three pressing issues, and that is staffing, community commitment, and finances. I mean, those are the three issues. You mentioned two, Paul. You were looking for a third one.
That was
The third one to me would be is community commitment, because
which HR and that kind of go together, but it's more than
Exactly.
just HR.
you think about the asset that the buildings are, but you also think of community's commitment to volunteerism, community commitment to writing checks, and then the taxpayers, obviously through the board itself, through the supervisors, that commitment. I can tell you that Dave or Steve Gribble, you and I are both old enough to know that if we did see a spreadsheet that gave us the hard dollars of it, we would probably quickly start to determine which commitments we should stick with, and others which ones we should move out, or which apparatus we should refurb. We'd probably have that conversation. We could probably do that in a rational and reasonable way. I think the bigger question then comes down to all right, does this committee then find through its evaluation and analysis process that the community, the 4 local communities, but the larger township, that there is a more pressing crisis there, and that is they're not committed to this. So I think the financial analysis is one piece, and the Board of Supervisors certainly will look at whatever financial analysis comes towards us. We did when Matt put that together. But I do think there's a larger question, and it is, what is the community's commitment? If we can't find volunteers, and Dave and Steve, we stepped through this last time we had that conversation, how many and who's coming, and how do we change that, and how do we speak to people about this and get them engaged, and I think that question is now looming large again, and for me to keep going back to the taxpayers that say, hey, listen, I'm gonna support a volunteer emergency services entity in this community in a 20-year time frame. It's going to cost you $7 million. I think I'd have to be able to say and do it with a straight face to the community that yes, and I've got your commitment as a community to make this happen by providing staff and providing buildings and providing volunteers for the administrative side of it. And now we can spend that dollar, in that I'm growing concerned as elected representative that I don't have a tremendous amount of support right now to make that case that I could say, yep, I've got 4 companies that have assets of buildings, apparatus and equipment, and a committed group of people. I'm hearing that there's some fraying, but rightly so. You're looking strategically and you're saying, what does that look like 8 to 10 years from now? And I don't have that. None of us have it. But I do think, Paul, back to your question is, can we do this in a way that brings in some good resources from within our companies, doesn't max out our chiefs because we've already gotten a commitment from them to run fire. But how do we do this in a way that does that? And through that process, we set out at the beginning, whoever's going to lead this and how we go about doing this, say to that group or that individual who leads this, that is, we want to preserve those things that do work through this process.
So saying, and hopefully right up front, clearly define our objectives. What is the real, problem that we're trying to solve, or the problems if there's more than one committee? Because I think, and half of that is defining it well and making sure we're all on the same page, or we're trying to solve the same problem.
I think the key for being a strategic planner, is what is the goal? And then what is the problem will come out throughout the process. A strategic planner who would do this and could do it on a full-time basis for 3 months or something would make their way to all the companies and have individual sessions with people and really draw that out. We tried to do it as volunteers last time here.
I was saying, and again, just thought off the top of my head is, it may be time to bring in an outside party, a professional or whatever, it may be worth the effort to, I don't know that, but it'd be interesting to see what.
Are we starting to get into number C there, the new business where we're going around? You're starting it, probably, let's just go this way.
Yep.
Can I finish with one thing on this?
Go ahead.
When businesses come into the township or people that move in, they want a good school system. They want police protection. I believe they want fire protection. But they want, we have a roads department, we have, the public works, they want the sewers to work, they want water flowing, they want this and that. And I'm not saying that the fire company has taken a back seat to stuff, but And I'm not looking at one paid for this stuff. So don't think I'm going that direction. But the police are paid to do their job and they're fine. It's great. I love working with them. Since I've been on the safety committee, I've met a lot of the guys that are on the public works, and I see them out here and there, and we talk, and they're great. We have a lot of great firemen in this township too. We don't do it for the glory and the money. It's nice to get a thank you, but we do it because we care. And I don't know how you get that through, necessarily to everyone, because just talking with these people on 2 calls this week, because they drew a crowd of people out. It's like, you guys are doing great. We were out for 3 hours on the 1 call. And it's like, we have, most of my guys don't get paid for that. And it's like, you mean you're doing this for free? It's like, yeah, and you guys put it in the newsletter and you talk, volunteer all the time, but it's still not hitting home somewhere. I'm not sure where, maybe we're not selling this properly, but it's somewhere the boat's being missed, and I'm not sure what happened, but if the boat sinks, there's a bigger problem then.
Yeah, let's keep on going around.
Yep. So I would say from the township supervisor's perspective, Eric, not a tremendous amount to share different than what we have here. Obviously, to this issue, we're going to be greatly interested in what the ESC tells us. So I would say, as the representative, I would like us to go forward the ESC to the Board of Supervisors and ask them to consider supporting an effort where we would have a professional come in. And there are people who actually study this very specific issue all over the country, and have them come in and perform a strategic evaluation process.
I would agree with the fact of we need help. They need help. And I think your approach of a professional coming in, give us guidelines, and that it's good.
We just commenting on that, or is this the?
I think he was pulling everything.
Pulling
Okay.
everything.
All right, then I'll go back to some of the more mundane stuff. There you go. If anybody has any, updates to driver's lists or fuel card needs, please let me know as time moves on. I really can appreciate getting the spill control reports, and appreciate everybody's efforts in making that happen. The projects are ongoing. The bridge over the Bronx Road bridge over the Peckway seems to be a little behind schedule. So probably not going to get done by October, if I had to guess at this point, but I don't have a final date. All the signs are up. I'm sure if you drive Horseshoe Road, you've seen it. They've been starting work out there. So that's underway at this point. Should be done sometime during this paving season. At least the East Lampeter section anyway, I suspect. The Whitmer Road Bridge over Mill Creek is a county bridge. And I can't remember if I reported on this last time or not, but county's going to close that bridge down starting sometime in August through probably at least October for repairs. So whatever adjustments need to be made as a result of that should be thought about. The resurfacing of North Bronx Road is a little behind. They just let that for bidding. So I was really hopeful that that would get done this paving season. I'm not sure that it will at this point. The supervisors will be doing some of the fire service award presentations from 2019 and 2020 at their meeting Monday night. So I understand that not everybody can be there, so we'll probably do some in August as well. But appreciate everybody's energies there and patience in waiting on the 2019 awards anyway. I'd asked Chief Zerby to work with PPL on their live wire safety demonstration that they do. Hopefully he's reached out to all of you and given you the date for when that's happening. And if you have anybody who can attend. And this is open to the public as well. We're not sure exactly where we're going to set up here on the property, but citizens, anybody who wants to attend that, it's going to be October the 19th, 6:30 in the evening. And hopefully, I've seen the presentation before. Probably some of you have seen it before. It's pretty amazing what they do and how they demonstrate safety around electric services. So I'd encourage you to participate if you can. Last thing I want to mention was that the emergency phone number that you have for when you need to contact somebody at the township for something that's going on out there, an event, a need, used to contact Tara. You want to still use that same number, but you're going to get Colin Seaschultz now. He's our new director of planning. And so he'll be the one answering that phone when you call. Very capable young man. I think you'll enjoy working with him as well. I'm going to have him come to a future emergency services committee meeting, make sure that he's had contact with everybody and had a chance to say hello. So you can expect that to be the case going forward. Thank you.
Yes, report for June. Also, sending out articles from the statement that large from Saturday.
Thank you. Comment?
Great to hear where we're looking at a different direction. I was involved back in 5 years. Start. And yes, pretty certain there's great service and a great field of fire. But I think we'll definitely have to find comprehensive fire department. Most of us have we're actually on the verge of a great captain. Got a lot of we're on the verge of a lot of stems from lack of volunteers. What they said up there, 100% correct. Everybody's working. And I can't stress that enough. With the volunteers that well is
Thanks. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, the fundraising, aspect of it. I'll be honest, I shifted gears, took over as president this year to try and keep pushing to get more money in the door, more volunteers. And I'll tell you what, we got to come back to the core mission. And so I'm revamping my entire plan here middle of the year because we just cannot pull off the fundraisers and things on that side of it, on the administrative side, that we used to. We've had 14 members come through the door. We've had probably 1 or 2 fire guys that look very good potential long-term, which was great. 1 or 2 associate members, and the rest, they show up here or there. There's no commitment, just like Dave and Steve alluded to. So what Steve said earlier is dead on, and Dave and all these guys around the table. So I would just strongly encourage a more comprehensive approach to everything, and that's not to say even I know this is set up and it's mainly been revolving around fire, but we don't want to also lose sight of our EMS. They are certainly facing their share of struggles with this as well. My 2 cents.
Grab that, Dave. They can't hear you on the.
It'd be short and sweet. So a lot of everything, so we'll see what shakes out. A lot of what I said is coming. Yeah, on Burtonham's part, in the last month, we had our auction last month and had a successful event there. Finally had decent weather, which really helps. We had 2-day event. I think we had, I don't know what the profitability of the numbers yet, but typically we make around $50,000 to $60,000 on that event. We had about 400 volunteers come out and help us during those 2 days. It's always a big volunteer driven thing. And then coming up fundraisers on our schedule, we have our chicken barbecue coming up in not till September, and we're still planning on having the half marathon the weekend after that. So that's a big event for us. We're working right now on trying to find sponsors, that type of thing. It's an ongoing process. Last month, we voted in 2 new drivers. It's the results of our new driver engineer program, the first 2 that have come through that. So we're kind of excited about that. We've got some more working on it. But we've got a few new people there that it's always a challenge for us to find drivers, and it seems to be working for us. And then last thing I have is we're also continuing to work very hard on the HR part of it. I think I said a year and a half ago, we were going to make a serious push at that. We continue to work on that. The leadership of the company, our board of directors, which includes our chiefs, president, the whole 9 yards. We've been very focused on, we feel like that's the key to the whole. For us, that's the key to being successful, is to bring in people. We're working on a comprehensive organizational chart that starts with the board of directors and filters all the way down into all these fundraisers, training committees, duty crews, trustees dealing with building facilities, that type of thing. We're hoping to lay that all out. And we're hoping that will help us continue to reach out then and find people in the community to fill those roles. We found that when we define those roles, build some structure, it's so much easier to go out then and find a person to actually accept that and be willing to be a part of the team. So that is, I think as a company, we're becoming more and more focused on it. We just feel like that is the future for us if we want to be successful. And so we're going to continue to work on that. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Just update. I know we discussed the past couple of meetings that we explored radio issue. We last one tonight that we were going to combine 25 Kentwood radios. Actually, it's going to be 18% through grant. So just to kind of take care of some of that issue with that. Duty vehicle, somebody you can see out here is in service now. And then one of the things we're trying to do here is monthly discuss that we're having a lot of reaching out to the neighbors that have corn. Food truck company out just get to know people.
What, I mean, interject, the 25 Kenwood radio?
Yes.
What's the cost of that?
For the remainder 18, it was at the first 7, we already have an for. It's going to be Yeah, I think it was like 10,300, I think is what our cost was gonna be.
You're expecting this year yet?
We should have them probably, next month.
Just bringing that up because in expenditure over 7,500 requires the approval from this.
Yeah, we need to talk about that too. Some of this little stuff like that. Should be able to bump up bigger items. I mean, I was gonna initially, like I said, we were looking at 20, at least, we didn't literally for the $29,000. That's great, that covers that 13,000. Smaller things that we did. Buying them all together, that's the discounts plus the chargers. We can reuse the old charger, instead of buying cups. So $20 versus $53 a truck. That's it. Get our hands slapped, get our hands slapped. It's better than the radios that we're having now that don't work at all. If they're having the screens don't work, you don't know what channel they're on.
Dave, your point of, are you looking for them to make the presentation and then we
Right, it's just-
retroactively approve it?
Normal process was any expenditures over 7,500 to be reported to this board for approval, that's all. So, yeah. I'm not looking at this as being these little things. I mean, if we want to say in the next financial plan that we want to raise the amount that we need to have approved by this board, I'm fine with that, but I know that I've been bringing everything to this board that costs over $7,500. I think that's the goals we have in place.
Clarification there, that I think we were listing them at the beginning of the year, any projected costs. We weren't approving individual items, I don't believe. This board wasn't. We were approving,
Presenting that at the
presenting
beginning
it
of the
and
year.
approving the,
Then if you have
but there are
something that comes
things that come
along,
up.
then it should be.
Right, and then this has,
Pick
I've
it.
mentioned in the meeting. We went to probably 3 meetings that we were. That's what we do with that.
And I guess the reason I'm asking, and we have things all the time that come up during the year that, again, our option, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're not on that. And repairs, and so I guess maybe I'm wrong, my understanding was the idea was to inform the committee of the things that we're projecting to buy over the next year, over $7,500, so that everybody can review it, and if there's any issues, but I wasn't aware either that it actually there was a formal approval process if something came up on a month-to-month basis where, we felt like we needed to buy something. So maybe we need to clarify that as part of the next.
I mean, my understanding, and we should look at the state to see where we have it spelled out. And that is, at the beginning of the year, you put out in front of everybody anything greater than 7,500. And that captures most everything that you're planning. And if there is a emergency expenditure, yes, we have had those discussions before.
I guess it's more of a reporting issue then, because I think back when Steve had reported that they were going to buy the rest of the tools, and that was $25,000, but it was more of a report. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's where we should leave it. That you're reporting that you're buying radios for $13,000.
If I can interject it, one of the other motivations for that process was to give everybody the opportunity to say, hey, is there an opportunity for some group purchasing? Do we all have a similar need at a similar time? And if there's information that comes out, hey, we're looking at this seriously, then the other fire companies would have an opportunity to say, hey, that makes some sense. Can we join in? Can we all take advantage of what you're working on? So that was one of the main motivators for that process of reporting those planned purchases. That's good. Thank you.
For Lafayette, we have had a successful month here in June with the state cook-off and a few other fundraising events. We had a volleyball tournament, and they were all profitable. What we find is that we started committing ourselves every weekend And then we were losing commitment as the weekend went by. So for June, we're on the books here to go to the Relay for Life, Relay for Life. And then I think we're going to have a lag in events until the National Night Out in August. And then we'll be having some things come up in the September, October timeframe. We'll be having an open house and a housing of the new engine, which we hope to have in service. Do you have anything, Jason?
Okay, as was in the minutes, we did purchase the new rescue equipment. The equipment was placed on our engine. Everything is in and mounted, used for the first time today, worked well. We also had a business donate $700 worth of DeWalt equipment to go with that. And we also just got another donation of $250 to go with that. So we're switching over to a lot of battery operated stuff because it's portable, it's quick, and it takes a lot less manpower to put everything together. So it's worked out well for us. As in the minutes here, the host testing is coming up again. Dave's going to host that up there. Still good?
Yes.
Okay. I'll bring this up because we are putting new bay doors on our station because we've had some problems. It's around $11,000 coming out of our general fund. We were trying to wait, but you guys know what the building product material is like and the lead time. And we decided not to wait too long because we want to get new doors on by winter. So that's going to start to happen. The ones that are on there, the originals. And these are going to be a lot less maintenance and hopefully keep the heat in a little bit quicker for us. So, everybody wants to go building stuff right now. God bless you, because it's they held the price for 15 days. That's how fast things are going on. So we had to act on it. But that's going to happen sometime, but we're at least in the schedule. So that is all I have.
I'll go with that. Melanie, would you like to comment?
I have no comment.
Okay, Susie?
I do have a comment. We've spoken a lot about things. I've been lucky enough to be a community member in East Lampeter Township, and then joined the fire service and have had my eyes open to the way things work. And I think people have to be the top priority right now. And I think daytime response can't wait for a strategic plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one other comment.
Go ahead.
That is that we held a 2-day kids camp. Great success. We had 25 students attend the camp, and we had multiple fire companies who participated and helped out. It was just a great time, and we did a lot of the kids did a lot of skills and learned a lot. And parents joined in the beginning, and then they joined us at the end. It was definitely a camp, and it was better than I expected. And hopefully next year it will grow.
I guess I clean up. I was mowing the lawn before I came here, and I was going through this whole discussion I had with a guy on Monday about gratitude. Guy just came back from being in Maine on vacation, and he was helping me load cement in my truck. And I got to talking about different things. He said his focus is on gratitude. And I was thinking about that in this group. And one of the comments, well, you never get the thanks that you really deserve. As I don't fight fires. I've never driven a fire truck. I've never shot a hose or done anything like that. Taught some CPR, taught some first aid, life saving, but that's about it. But I hear fire engines and ambulances going, and somebody's driving them and taking care of them, and doing the work that you guys do. while I'm sleeping in bed and being nice and warm and not having to worry about it. And I just, there's part of me that just wants to say thanks for what you do as a community member. Thanks for what you do. It's unseen, and it's unfortunately people don't see it. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's kind of your point. They come into asking about education, but do they ask about fire service and things of that nature? They don't. The second thing is that what I do outside of being in these meetings is I work for Penn State. I teach for Penn State. I do consulting. One of the consulting groups I work with is a worldwide consulting group that does exactly what this group needs to have happen. That is, get stakeholders in a room to look at a problem or a series of problems and try to figure out how to address those problems. One of the issues I worked on a couple decades ago was library in Lancaster County. Funding was drying up, volunteers were going away, all those things. Sounds similar. And put together a program or a meeting where we had stakeholders in the room. Now, they could be business people, they could be fire chiefs, they could be ambulance, EMTs, they could be 64, 80 people in a room, and go through a process of just saying, where are we at and where do we need to be? What are we proud about? What are we sorry about? And so there's processes out there. There's consultants out there that do that kind of thing, that come in unbiased. And sometimes they do it for nothing. It's a volunteer thing. So there's processes out there to do that if we want to do it, think through that process. But it's getting all the stakeholders in the room. And that, as you listen to everybody talking here, somebody was saying, I think you were saying, it's not just the chiefs, and it's other things. Now the bad news, volunteerism. You can be looking at church committees, you can be looking at Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, you name it. It's volunteering is going down. And part of the issue is that all of us have 2 or 3 different hats to wear. My mom and dad are in a memory unit over at Luther Acres. I have 2 grandsons that are less than 4 years of age. And, I work. So it's like all of us have 3, 4, 5 things that are going on at one time. And back in the day, back when you were a kid, and I remember when you were a kid, your dad and mom did stuff, and my dad and mom did stuff. My dad gave money to the Leola Pool to get the Leola Pool started. That's what you did in communities back then. That's not happening nowadays. But I will tell you that there are people out there. I work for Penn State. Penn State comes to me 2-3 times a year trying to get money from me or whatever. Everybody does. My dad is in a memory unit now, so I get all of his mail every day from all the $20 checks that he wrote to everybody and their brother that sent him something. And there are places out there that are just really good at talking to people that are kind of at the end of their life, and they say, what do you want to have as a legacy? And I don't know that in our community, we've done that as a community, where we've said, gee, let's look at fire safety or fire service in East Lampeter Township. And let's find some people that are going to donate and give big donations. You see people's names on buildings all over the place because they've made $100, $200, $300 million donations. Maybe it's time to, and that's part of a process of just how do we deal with this big elephant in the room of trying to make ends meet. And so that's just, I'm a citizen. I'm asked to come here to give my opinion. That's what I just did. But there's opportunity. I see the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. But to your credit, I'm not the one that gets up in the middle of the night and fights fires. So I understand that. That's what I have to say. Anything remaining?
Sarah still getting the MS four?
Yes.
So I guess any public comments or any additional comments, final comments? Appreciate your patience with me. I was kind of training wheels still on, facilitating this stuff. Do I have a request for adjournment?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you,
Eric. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman.